Great. Okay, we're getting started. Are you ready? Are you ready to pod it up?
Let's go.
So
Let's have fun.
Peatcast
it. Let's go.
This is brought to you by Propel.
I like you, but I wouldn't die for you. Okay, I like you, but I wouldn't die for you. Okay, I like you, but I wouldn't die for you. I'd take a punch, some verbal abuse maybe.
Really good intro. That's a strong start to the show.
All right.
Oh, now we can talk. Now we can talk. Sorry.
That was a good intro, man. Nicely done.
Very good.
I'm glad you guys like that.
Yeah, but you know what? That was just me talking to our kids that I like them, but I wouldn't die for them. I might die for you. Might.
Yeah.
Might. I don't know.
You might die with me if we were in a car accident.
Because he never wears his seatbelt.
That's right.
You don't?
No, and I've told him
That's dangerous.
if we get into a car accident, I'm dead.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm dead. The airbag, 400-pound airbag, just blew into my head.
The accident didn't kill him, but his friend did.
Hey, everybody. Doug Fields here with Natalie and Josh and Matt. And one of the highlights of our week is just being together, whether the microphones are on or not.
Exactly.
And I just told Natalie while you were going to the bathroom, Josh, which we waited 8 minutes for.
I had some jitters right before the show started. I always get a little nervous.
I told Natalie we got to stop talking before the show because we talk about fun stuff and good stuff that should make its way.
That's true.
Was that a sound effect?
That was.
I had a recorder in the bathroom when he was gone.
We're starting the show off strong today.
Oh my gosh! We haven't had toilet humor in about 8 weeks, McGill.
It's great.
It's not
No more-
back.
no
I
more
thought we had a
toilet
little
humor.
talk about that. Did you forget
that's
about that little talk?
You got a new email, too.
Uh-oh, my instant messenger's still on.
Hey, it is Tuesday, the 6th of June. It's 6606.
That's not a good sign. This podcast might be doomed.
Uh-oh. Speaking
Our
of...
special guest, the Antichrist, will be here.
Oh, sorry about that. I meant to click that one out because you said you didn't like that.
Yeah, I didn't
Are you
like
done?
that one.
I'm done.
Are you done?
I'm done.
Matt's on today.
No. Off. Matt's off, and we're going to have a little discussion afterwards.
We should just have the discussion on the air today.
Here's how the discussion would go.
All right.
Hey, Matt,
First, the hand would go on the shoulder.
Because it's a tender moment.
Well, I would just say, Matt, you know what? I know that you and I have a little different philosophy on toilet humor and belching and burping, and people write in and say, you know, that time in Germany when you told that one thing about your stomach ache and your diarrhea and all that stuff. But
What?
I just don't like that. And Matt would go, I'm sorry, I shouldn't.
I totally agree. I don't like it either.
I don't like it either, but I had a burrito for lunch.
No, but that's almost exactly how it would go. And it would be I would be very soft and gentle, right, Matt?
Oh.
You'd be tender,
Well,
sensitive.
I would just say, come on, man, we've talked about that. And Matt he'd nod and he'd get this little thing in his, he buckles up his upper lip and then he goes, I'm sorry.
Little tear? Little tear?
No,
not that.
Not
No.
over
Not
that.
a chance.
Just
not a chance.
Not over that.
Hey, speaking of Matt, we got an email from Jim
sure.
Clark, Fox Valley Christian Church, Batavia, Illinois. It says, way to go with the podcast.
She's just like,
I
hey,
know,
look,
I was
podcast day.
completely listening.
I know. And most of our emails come in now, and they are coaching when
They're
to.
really helping
when-
Natalie learn.
And I know that he
Ding
waits
them
until
if they
the
don't
middle
have-
when
Jim
really
writes, I
sit
wanted
down.
to share a brief comment on episode 17, this is episode what, 19?
18 or 19.
Oh, no, I'm going to go 19.
I'm going to go with 19.
Okay. That I should have sent last week and asked a question. Matt started off that week with Eye of the Tiger by Survivor. And I thought that starting the show off in this fashion was awesome, and it gave me chills.
Oh, I'm getting chills right now.
The Sunday night previous to that podcast, we had used Matt's sports instructional video in the comedy section of our event. I was wondering if there might be any chance of some new instructional videos starring Matt McGill, or maybe if we could get Josh to put some together.
Oh, no. Matt.
Josh
I've
putting them
still
together
never
is an
seen this.
excellent idea.
Matt is the sports instructional video.
Natalie, have you ever seen a sports
haven't
instructional
seen it.
video?
Oh,
I've
they're,
heard of it
they're
often.
legendary.
I'll tell you this: we used to have when years ago on our website, people could comment about the products, and that was the only product that people loved and hated at the same time.
Oh, classic.
They were, for those of you who've never seen it. They were Matt giving sports tips, and they were very funny. And he would wear
Hilarious.
tight clothes, and his stomach would stick out. And they're some of the best videos I've ever
Do we
seen.
sell
And he was
it?
ultimately serious too. He was completely serious as he played this character,
Oh,
and that's what made it funny.
It was very funny.
Oh.
Very
Did
funny.
you use them in Michigan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My very first
sold?
PDYM, they had
one's
they had
listening
sports
to me.
instructional videos. We don't sell them anymore
No,
because
we-
they're
Because they're only
deteriorated.
videos. They're not.
We
DVDs.
used to because we just, I
gotcha.
mean, it was like
We should put one up for
$10
download
or something like that for 10 videos. It was
Oh,
nothing.
so
but it just,
funny. Yeah, it was like throwaway. They're so funny.
Can we put one up as a freebie?
I think either
Old-
if we
old
can't
school?
do it now, we'll do it on the next newsletter or something.
Okay,
But
got
they're
plenty
funny.
of bandwidth.
Yeah.
Hey, we got a lot of
Terabytes.
emails this last week
Yeah.
of just Josh. I know you read them before you pass them on. But
Everyone.
it was interesting to me that how many related to us. Kind of being a breath of fresh air. A lot of people feeling like they're alone in youth ministry,
Exactly.
which is totally understandable. But the podcast has helped them feel like, they're not the only. A lot of people say I'm not the only fool in youth ministry because I
I'm not
guess
the
they were relating to
Yeah,
us
crazy
boys,
staff.
not you, Natalie, but us
Right.
boys.
We're fools.
But this person wrote, within the last month, my husband's AC died in the car. Our house was robbed. My husband's windshield was smashed. My husband's job situation was worsened. Ministry situation has gotten worse. I lost an amazing ministry opportunity. My husband also lost it. We nearly burned down our rental home on accident. We lost our church van. Someone is taking funds from the youth ministry budget and putting it in the general fund. Our students can't get to camp, and I can't drive because I got in a wreck yesterday with a $1,000 deductible. I just hear the insurance premium increasing. The one thing to not enjoy the place you are at in life, but it is quite another thing, or it's one thing not to enjoy the place you are in life, but it's quite another thing to go through all of this junk without the Simply Youth Ministry podcast.
and we're reading her
Hope
email.
and light to the world.
That's right.
That's right.
We're reading her
I
email
guess
on
it's just nice to
666.
know that even though the rest of my life is way out of control, I can still count on the podcast.
There you go.
If not online Wednesday, maybe Thursday or Friday or the next week. But again, eventually I will be able to laugh with others instead of just laughing.
we like
at
to
myself.
say it's
She doesn't
delivered.
give birth to Satan today.
Who was this?
It's delivered right when you
They
need
didn't.
it.
They didn't say.
They didn't say.
Yeah.
And that calls for a ding, but I wish they had said.
Well,
They're sweet.
they
person.
said in him no name, no church, no state.
I know who it is.
It says though I want. It says I wanted to give Natalie a chance if she catches on.
"Oh wow,
Aw.
that was a little
Good
test.
job.
It was a little
Well
diss
done.
at the same time.
A little." It was a pat on the back and a kick in the butt.
Hey,
Yeah.
also, this is a first. Somebody entered the San Diego Marathon.
Oh, this is cool.
My name is Chris Mendez. I'm the youth pastor at Knollwood Community Church.
Oh, right. Okay.
A little early there.
Natalie's still feeling good about last week. She
Oh,
got
yeah.
props of being the
It was-
kind voice in the
It
sea of
was out
masculinity.
It was out
Yeah.
of your normal structure. Name. There were like 2 words. in
So
the
this
thing.
guy enters the marathon.
Yeah. From Burke, Virginia. His wife and I just completed the San Diego Marathon this past Sunday, and I wanted to thank you for being there with us. Let me explain.
Wow.
He says, myself, my brothers, and my wife love the podcast, watch it regularly. We all work in youth ministry and find you guys to be very funny while dispensing youth ministry wisdom at the same time. This past January, my wife and I decided to walk the half marathon to support the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
My kind of race.
The walk.
Walk a half marathon.
Our
If you
friend,
could crawl a
That still
quarter
sucks.
marathon, I'd be there.
or if you could sleep a mini
What if
marathon.
you could just get in a little wagon and just someone pull you along?
You're thinking to yourself, what does this have to do with the podcast? Well, yes, we were.
Yeah.
Well, when we were given the opportunity to personalize our race tags, Mary chose to support Renee's mom with For Mary Rose. I thought it'd be cool to have you guys along with us and chose SYM Podcast.
Wait,
So
wait.
attached are pictures of me and my
Oh,
race
no.
tag. His race tag has his number, and at the bottom it says SYM Podcast.
So his wife does it for this person who
funny.
has cancer or something like that, and he does it for the podcast?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Looking for goats.
He says the only thing they didn't finish was their fundraising, and why don't we do this? Why don't we put let's put a photograph on our links
Let's do it.
of the deal,
Oh,
and then put
fun.
the
Easy.
link to his website. So if somebody wants to give
Give me
to
that,
the leukemia, because you'll forget if I don't.
If I don't have it in my hand by the time of this podcast ends, I won't remember.
All right.
All right.
Here is
That's a
That's
very
very
cool story.
cool. I
well,
wanna see
very
those
very
pictures.
similar. Dave Roberts of Rockford, Michigan, says I want to thank you for inspiration.
That was such a gentle ring.
This is going to be called the Natalie Bell Show by the end.
You were an inspiration during a recent race. Sure. The race was a 25K run, 15.5 miles in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was at the 9-mile mark in the race and experiencing a lot of pain. In addition to the pain my body was feeling, my morale took a big hit at the 9-mile mark.
Mine would too.
As a woman with one leg passed me.
No.
Wow.
That's a lot of hopping, 9 miles.
Yeah.
Wow.
She might have had a plastic leg or synthetic or what do they call it?
Oh,
Prosthetic.
right.
Prosthetic.
Usually they don't call them plastic legs. I know that.
I was working my way up to prosthetic.
P words with one leg. Hold on.
That's awesome.
Because of the physical pain, emotional pain I was feeling, I decided I needed to laugh and get my mind off the race. So I searched through my iPod and found your podcast still in my iPod. I hit play, and for the next 45 minutes, I laughed as I ran. When your podcast finished, I was at the 15-mile mark. So
Wait.
Wow.
He was at the 9?
He's running about a 20-minute mile?
No.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
What is it?
I don't know. I wasn't listening. Wait,
That
so
would be
the woman had
6
one leg?
miles. That
Why
would
did
be
you
6
say
miles
Matt?
in an hour. So he's doing
Wait,
like
can
a
I-
10-minute mile.
We had 2 running emails right in a row.
I am
know,
such a
two marathon.
mathematician.
Imagine looking ahead and putting them together.
But you just have unbelievable organizational
Was that-
skills.
yeah.
That is odd, though. 2 marathon emails in one. I don't know. Kind of neat.
Well, it's just that it's nice to know
They
that.
weren't marathons. They were half marathons and 15 miles.
25K.
Yeah.
How can you be at mile 9 in a 25K? Shouldn't you be at like 12K? I don't know. This seems weird.
We'll talk afterwards. I'll explain it to you.
You'll put your hand on my shoulder.
No. I'll just take you to the whiteboard and explain math.
How many kilometers are in a mile? Like 15?
Thank you. This is what I'm talking about. Thank you. Do you know, Natalie, since Doug is about to mock me in front of
No, don't
11
ask
people.
Natalie
No,
this.
I
She
don't
doesn't
know what
the
it
capital
is,
of
but-
California.
But
What is the capital of California?
it's Sacramento.
All right, here we go.
That's good. That was
Let's
good.
move on. Jeff Palmberg from Kalamazoo Covenant,
1.3.
Michigan.
Another Michigan email.
I was listening to your comments about dress codes. This is a question we had last week about bathing suits and
Yeah.
people
Oh,
moving into summer
interesting.
and the whole bit. He says, I always tell the girls the dress code for swimwear is the girls must wear one-piece bathing suits. The rules don't specify which piece.
That's good. That's good.
By the way, do you know of a church that needs a youth minister? Yeah, I can see why.
Exactly.
All right, here's another question.
It's funny.
What
Did
was
he
that
just
one?
get
That's
punched
my new
out?
favorite one right there.
Did you punch him or
Interesting.
shoot somebody?
Yep.
Oh.
Those are punches.
Those are-
Oh.
That's what that email did to my face.
Do you have sound effects on World of Warcrafts?
No, but I need to have some. Here's my closest one.
I told Matt earlier today,
Unbelievable.
I can't believe how many emails we're getting about World of Warcraft. I want this
Yes.
every time I read one, I want background music to be of like
The geeky guy in the mom's
Pegasus
basement.
number 4 on a 20 level 18, and I was wondering, Matt, can you call me when you get there?
On server Zebulon.
Look at Josh making fun, even though he
Hey,
loves it.
Xbox 360 is not World of Warcraft.
Here we go. Randy Isola writes, I love the podcast. I've listened to
what's up?
everyone. I'm purposely leaving out all my personal information to get Natalie involved and pointing it out so that Doug has to read that fact out loud. I know that otherwise her opportunity will completely pass her by. You have got a reputation.
Yes.
I
But you did just
apparently
own
have.
that guy,
Yeah,
though. So
my
that's
I
question
did
is-
own him. Wow.
He writes, my question is, how many direct reports,
Oh.
staff, not volunteers, do you think one person can effectively manage? When that number becomes too large, what's your perspective on evaluating one of those people to lead their former peers versus hiring from the outside?
Interesting. So there's really 2 questions, right? One, how many people can you manage? And then, do you hire from within or from without?
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Okay.
So this
Thank
is
you
it.
for
You
the
know,
summary.
we have, yeah.
No, I
it
appreciate
just
that.
means he was paying attention this time.
Well, I felt bad after the one-legged race.
Yeah,
something.
well, we've had a lot of questions in the last few weeks about small youth groups, so this obviously is a larger youth group question. How many direct reports? Well, here's how I would answer. The number of direct reports that I can handle is about 2, and the ones that Matt can handle is about 10. Would that
And
be
even-
accurate, Matt?
Yeah, I think so.
Although I've had more direct reports, I just don't like to manage people.
Yeah, and even those 2, you do kind of a marginal job anyhow.
Well, you're not one of them, so you actually don't report to anybody.
Who do I report to anyhow?
I don't know.
Lord.
Natalie?
Are we
I
talking
do
about
report to the Lord.
bolded names, like we were talking about yesterday? Bolded
Yeah,
names?
yeah,
Is
like
that
who
what this
report? Who do you
discussion
report to? Who reports to you?
I think a lot of the answer to this question has
Yeah.
to do with your personality and your management style.
Absolutely.
For somebody like me who is more into ideas and creating things and vision, I'm not a very good manager.
Right.
So the less is more for me. Matt, on the other hand, is an excellent manager, and our student ministry has managed many, many people. Although many times I get credit for it. They go, oh,
That's
okay,
true. Yeah.
They do on the but that person reports to Doug, and I go Doug/Matt.
Yeah. But that's good, though. You staff to your weakness. You know that you're a different type of person. You need a strong leader to come in, a strong manager. You got Matt right there.
Well, that is a principle of leadership: is know what you're not good at. And my list grows very long the longer I'm around Matt, because he writes the list for me.
Rule of thumb, though, somewhere between 2 and 12, you can effectively manage.
It depends on the person. It depends definitely on your skills, but it also depends on how your ministry is set up too. I mean, I think that you definitely want to staff by functions and what's happening and what's going on in your ministry, and if it makes sense for 3 people to report to you, even though you can handle 7, then you should just have 3 people report to you. I mean, it just totally depends on the situation and your ministry and your capacity.
Don't you think part of the personality comes into play there, too? Like, if someone's a control freak, they have to know everything about 3 people. There's no way they can manage 12. But if you're more of a hands-off relational manager, you could easily handle 12 under the right circumstances.
Well,
and who's underneath you, too? Who's the power?
The opposite can hurt you sometimes, too, is if you are such a control freak that you don't want to let go of things in your ministry, you don't want to give them up, you don't want to hand them over. Oh, I got everything but my phone.
Here, let me answer. Who is it?
Yeah. Pick it up. Hold on.
It's Jana.
Say hi.
Sardi?
Yep, Jana Sardi.
Tell her I'd love to get lunch. Thanks for the note.
Hey, Jana. This is Doug. We're in the middle of a podcast. Matt forgot to turn off the phone.
Hi,
We're
Jana.
actually recording. Natalie says hi. So does the 9 people that listen to this. All right?
Hey,
Here's Matt.
We'll put Jana's email on the links. Send her a note and say thanks for the call.
Just hung up on her.
Oh,
here's
no.
Matt.
Here's Matt.
Here's Matt.
Like,
Dial tone. Turn off the ringer.
Here's the other thing. We are so professional.
Do you see me just whisper into the microphone? Yeah. That was very effective.
Matt, no one can hear us. Turn it down.
And you weren't going to do that anyhow without my prompting, I'm
You're
sure.
right. Thank you.
On Matt's tombstone, I already have my byline. It's always something.
It's always
It is
something.
always
I
something.
can't tell you how
something.
bad I want to go back to the other sound I had.
Okay, so we've answered the A question. Now what about the B?
Let's also talk about this for the A question, because there are people who manage not paid positions, but they manage volunteers.
Yeah.
There is a point in which volunteers have got to feel that somebody knows about them and cares about them and loves them, because really a lot of times we do as youth workers, when you get more than a handful of volunteers, sometimes we really stop caring for our volunteers because you can't even manage that many volunteers.
Very true.
And you need to know your strengths as a leader and your weaknesses as a leader. And if you're not good at managing people, you find another volunteer who is good at that. And that person could manage volunteers, and you manage that person. So this is not just a paid staff question. You can also turn it into a volunteer question as well. I would also say that his second question is, do you hire from outside or hire from within? My style is always from within, although we didn't do that with you.
I'm really glad you broke that style for me. But no, I think that's a great point.
But there was a within. There was a little bit of a within element.
Oh, yeah.
Because we had known you. You'd come to our conferences. We'd developed a friendship.
You lurked long enough.
Yeah, you bothered us with enough emails.
Well, all right, we'll let him stay.
Yeah, but I would say if I have my choice, I'd much rather hire within.
Well, just looking at the players around you, I mean, it's friends, students, interns, these people, you're hiring from within. Students that turn into
people that I know,
workers.
you feel like you have some... Yeah. Even when I hired Kurt Johnson many, many years ago, he was a student that I knew when I taught college.
Right.
He was in my college youth ministry class.
Don't you think that the idea there, though, is you're limiting risk because you know what you're getting? I mean, when you hire from without, there's so many wild cards in that person. Yeah, hire from without or within.
That's not the right term.
From outside of your church.
Well, when you hire people without skills, you are making a great risk.
Again, amazing how I ever got on here. But no, but I mean, like when you bring Andy on, kid in your youth ministry, eventually going to come on to Simple Youth Ministry staff, you knew what you were getting with him.
Yeah.
Where if you're hiring some other guy fresh out of college, who knows the baggage, the personality. I think hiring from within is ideal.
But a lot of people say the opposite of that. So that's just, for me, that's a Doug Fields response. But you have observed now for 2 years what is around me. It's people that do life together.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that is the style is let's work together for a long time,
Right.
have a lot of fun, work really hard, serve God, but let's do life together. When you find people that fit that chemistry, there's something wonderful
Right.
about that.
Good call.
Hey, here's another question. Y'all talk about editing the show. Do y'all ever edit it? Do you have a cutting room floor episode? Just asking. Quick answer. No.
Put it on the wall of shame.
Don't we wish?
That's a fair question because we've
Some
said
things
many,
were
many
cut out.
times.
Yeah, and we're back.
And we're back, but we've never once edited.
Nope.
We've started over once when Matt forgot to record it.
It's not really starting over if you never started. That's really
true.
just
We kind of
starting.
started. We just didn't start the recording.
Yes.
Right, but there's no
Oh,
cutting room
that's
floor.
true.
What you see is what you get, which is why the episodes are an hour long. 'Cause, sorry, we're not editing them.
And very average. There's been many things I've wanted to edit. This is from Phil Horner.
Let me help you out, Natalie.
No, I just paused. He's from Pacific Church of Irvine. He's a neighbor here in
right
Irvine,
up the road.
I
California.
knew that you were pausing.
Yeah.
Hi,
Phil,
neighbor.
he says, I have a
Carol.
question for you about events and purposes. What's the purpose? I do events from lawn games, extreme bocce ball and croquet, to classics like evenings at the emergency room as a result of an ill-placed puck from broomball. But if I emphasize evangelism through relationship as opposed to using events, what purpose do the events serve? It's a very good
Interesting.
question.
Yeah.
I would claim they fulfill the much loved but little mentioned sixth purpose of fun. I want to emphasize the 5 biblical purposes in doing nothing without fulfilling a main purpose. So each event, he says, in parentheses, the lesson I learned from PDYM. So I guess my question is, how often do you guys do outside fun events, and do you even try to offer a reason outside of quote-unquote fun for them?
Interesting. So instead of friendship evangelism, bring your friends to a weekend service. This person has a bunch of big events. Go to a baseball game, play a fun game at the church, water balloon fight, whatever.
Yeah, I think he's saying, hey, we do a croquet. Is that fellowship? Is it evangelism?
Nothing says fellowship like croquet.
He did say extreme
Oh,
bocce
I love
ball.
playing croquet
Yeah, but
and bocce ball.
What is
I
extreme
love
bocce
both.
ball? We need to have him write in and tell us
I
what that
couldn't
is.
see
I
what
think
it
that may be where you
is, but-
throw the ball at people.
Ooh, I like it. That'd be dodgeball with croquet balls?
I don't know. Let's answer his question. How about that?
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah, I would say that I think there are times in youth ministry where you just need to say, hey, we're going to have a fun time. This is going to be a fun event. It isn't necessarily an evangelism event, although it could be used that way. It isn't necessarily defined as a fellowship event. We're doing something, I think, fun, and community building is part of a healthy youth ministry, and that's giving kids an opportunity to be together. Many of the biblical purposes could show up in that event. If we live our life correctly during that time, it is a time of worship, and how we live our lives is a response to God.
Well, I think there's great power in an evangelistic activity. I think that's cool. I think going on an all-nighter, not that I would do those regularly, but I think that's fun. Bring your friends. We'll talk about God halfway through. I like that. I prefer friendship evangelism, absolutely. But I think we even say something about supplemental evangelistic activities.
That's really the point, is that it's
Yeah.
just, this isn't a main focus and a primary strategy of, it doesn't sound like this guy's ministry nor our ministry, where you can do other events that are quote-unquote secondary programs, but they're just supplemental things that help and assist that. I mean, sometimes we do things just for our small groups. We would do a hockey night and promote it for our small groups. And sometimes we'd do a hockey night and promote it just on the weekend, and non-Christians would show up. I mean,
So you could have a hockey night that's a fellowship, small group, and you could have a hockey night that's evangelistic after the weekend. Or whatever.
I mean, it's not...
And if a bunch of guys just get together to play hockey just for fun,
Yeah.
it's
So,
just for fun.
so the
That's
result
the
is
sixth
the
purpose.
purposes more so than the purpose.
Well, no.
Well, the result actually could be a deepening of relationship, which would be fellowship.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
result,
I love the fact
But
that
it's also
you're even
planning.
asking a question
Absolutely.
connected to purpose. Now, I think where many youth ministries get in trouble is they never ask, what are we doing this for? What's the purpose behind this? And
Yeah.
the why behind it.
And I think
just love that.
There's somewhat pressure to do that too. The culture of a lot of churches is keep the students busy, keep kids busy. And so we create a bunch of activities to keep people busy, and we really start diluting the purposes.
Yeah, even though the final event might be the same thing and it might look the same, the idea is from a planning and from a leadership and from a strategic point of view to say, hey, what does my ministry need right now? What is it that I want to do?
Yeah.
and what is it that I want to accomplish. So it's more than just saying, hey, here's an event, what purpose does it fulfill? That's kind of putting the cart before the horse, or whatever that saying goes.
Nice old
strong.
school
The idea is
callback.
before you do it, thinking it through a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good point, man. It's really good, because sometimes as a leader, you need to look at your ministry and go, we've been pushing really hard for this mission trip, and you know what, we just need to have an event that's just fun. We need that, but we also need to let people know that that's what we're doing it for.
Right. I like it.
All right, Natalie, you okay? Should we move on?
Yeah. I feel good.
All right.
Feel
Go to church this weekend?
Answer?
Yes.
You did.
It took her a while to think
it
of
was the last week of the last service of our old church.
Oh, the
So
one
we
that
were at
closed a few weeks ago? It really didn't close. So
It
it's
closed this week. This was the last week.
Did you have a good time?
We did.
Yeah, we
had
have a
great
good time on the last church service.
No,
Well,
it was
it's
great.
bittersweet, but it's
That's
still.
like
It was a little
somebody at a funeral.
bittersweet. It was great, though. We've made some great relationships there, and I think it's all in good timing. So,
Did you guys ever do extreme bocce ball?
do you know? I'm trying to think. It like ultimate frisbee is when you throw it at targets and you play like golf. No, that's frisbee golf.
Yeah.
Ultimate frisbee is where you throw it around like football, kind of.
Oh, right. No, I don't know, but I do have a bocce set, and we play it often.
We
Do you?
should play a game.
Yeah.
We should play a game.
It's a
during work
wicked
hours.
Good. I'll bring it.
Hey,
All
you
right.
know what?
Tomorrow
Speaking
lunch.
of
All you
playing
need is a little
games during
patch of
work,
grass. You're good to go.
I gotta find that one. There was a guy that wrote in and said he was watching the Simply Youth Ministry podcast. Here it is.
What? That's this thing.
John Mitchum. He says, yesterday, when I should have been working, Minister of Youth and Families at Hastings United Methodist Church. Sorry, he had one of those signature taglines that I just...
He also
Anyway.
had a tagline
Yeah,
and a tag lane.
and a tagline. That's a fun event. We play tag lane.
Tag lane and bocce ball.
Yesterday, what was the
That was a pirate. I could see your face, and I knew it was going to come up, so I had the answer ready. Because
That was good. That means you thought about something before you did it.
That was the dumbest
sometimes
thing
there are just random pirate sounds. I'm getting ready for September, the Talk Like a Pirate Day. It's only a few months away, guys. Get ready.
Stupid is what I have to say
It's
to that.
tough.
Here we go.
Throw
Yesterday,
you overboard.
now I'm going to get the giggles. Every pirate reference.
Why is there a phone in here today?
I don't know. I was going to actually ask earlier. I figured in case Matt's ringer wasn't off, they could call on this one.
Okay, so we don't have a scheduled phone
So this
call.
guy writes in.
John Mitchum says, yesterday, when I should have been working, I checked in on the webcam. Every
Ooh.
time I looked at it, it was always on Andy working. Because at simplyyouthministry.com, we have a webcam that
Yes.
just is in the office. It says, so that brings the following question. Is Andy the only person working at Simply Youth Ministry? Or was this the only time Andy was working? Notice that we did not see Josh working.
I was playing bocce ball.
Yeah, you could turn in on watch about just about any time and you'd find that.
No, today we put the webcam. We'll leave it there for the rest of this week too. So if they log in, it's in the warehouse. So people are seeing their orders being shipped out because we're doing a big sale.
Oh, and nothing says excitement like that.
Cardboard.
I wondered why I haven't tuned into the SYM webcam in about a year and a half.
Should I
Oh,
check in on
it's
it
fun.
right now?
You should. There's all
Check it
sorts
out.
of
Go
highlights.
online. It's hot. Show it to the videocast people, or they could even log in while
Josh
they're
and
listening.
I are really the only ones who care about it.
I love
we
the webcam.
occasionally
It's so much fun.
entertain it.
We've actually run like the first person to
Are you crying?
I am. a
You
little
got
bit.
something. Your whole eye is red.
I got pink eye. I don't know.
Oh, bummer.
No,
Sorry.
we- our
Thanks
whole-
for hugging me today,
Yeah.
too.
I hugged you with my eye,
Thanks
dude.
for that Eskimo kiss today.
Butterfly kisses is what they're called.
There's both.
Butterfly's the nose.
Eskimo's
though.
the nose. Eskimo.
And butterfly's the eye.
Yeah.
So technically,
I was just
A pirate kiss is that.
do you have the Butterfly Kisses song queued up and ready to go right
that's
now?
one song I don't have loaded on my iTunes.
Oh, next week.
Yeah.
We'll open
I'll
with
provide
it.
an opportunity.
All right,
for
speaking
you
of
to
the phone,
use
the
it.
phone triggered last week, Survivor.
Yes.
That ended, we ended our show thinking, what could we put on?
Just keep talking. It's not there.
It's cool.
That's nice, man. That was quick. You were on another website and you got to that.
Wow.
You're the man. You really are.
Your tombstone will read funny, but you're the man.
That's right. It's always something, but you are the man. They'll
That's
fit
good.
together.
That's better. I like that.
And then we put him on eBay as a date, right? The guy, he was great.
He was hilarious.
Oh.
He said, "Sure,
Very cool."
Yeah. So
What's happened with
if
that?
someone's out here for student leadership conference, or he's even agreed to go on a date in North Carolina as well, and it's up to like $20. So he's actually pretty cheap
$20.
still.
Wait, are girls betting?
Oh yeah,
It's like a date.
We've gotten some emails saying Austin Cardi would like to go on a date. We've opened it up to anybody. It doesn't have to be a
Really?
date.
$20. That's a deal. We got to get a lot of goats for that. How long will we keep that up there? That's got to be a several goat.
I would
eBay.
hope so. It's up right now to like $20, and it ends maybe tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, really? That
Yeah.
quickly?
Yeah. Well, why don't you just bid on it, win it, and then we'll put it up again.
Okay.
I'm serious.
Yeah, I'll do that.
No one knows.
No one.
The page has been viewed hundreds of times, though, so it's interesting. People are reading it, and I think they think it's a good bit. But
It's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
So if you want to go on a date,
He's
or
gonna,
just
he's
have a
gonna
fun
come to our
evening.
student leadership conference in July,
Yeah.
and then I'm asked him to stay over for the weekend because I'm speaking
That's gonna be
that
cool.
weekend, and he's going to do a little testimony as part
deal
of
in
that.
church. That'll be
Yeah.
great.
it'd be very fun.
That's neat.
Yeah, we just booked something like Silas too for the conference, so that'll be good.
For the student leadership
student
conference.
leadership, yeah.
Yes, it's going to be
Something like what?
It's a band, something like Silas. I know that you and Doug don't listen to Christian music,
Yeah.
but they sing Christian songs.
Oh,
I got a couple emails this week of people saying that
you?
can't be true. That I don't listen to Christian music.
All right, sing your favorite worship song.
That's a little something like Silas.
Man,
Oh,
you are,
really?
You are
so
pound
fast.
that. Pound that. That is just claw it.
Arr.
Arr.
All right, here's a
That's cool.
here's
Something
a
like Silas
question
is good.
from
louder.
Sorry.
Wow.
Someone just ran off the road in a marathon.
No. It wasn't shocking.
knocked over the one-legged lady. All right, he says, I have a question. This is from Australia.
No names? No churches?
This is Trish, and I'm the youth leader from Melbourne, Australia. It's just a long email, and Matt was highlighting, he just highlighted the power of sex on there. He says, I'm relatively new youth leader, and we've tried last year to run a series on sex, and we struggled a bit. I'm interested in the series you have called The Power of Sex, but found not enough information on your website about it. I would like to know more about it before I purchase it online. Obviously, buying from Australia means I pay quite a bit more, so you could be sure.
Does that work in economic theory?
What's that?
Wow.
That they're paying more?
Can they just download it
I
for
mean, it's more Australian dollars, but is it really more money?
Well, shipping is,
and taxes like a VAT tax or something?
yeah.
Okay, I read that, and I'm not very smart in the ways of economics, although Adam Smith and the invisible hand theory, I'm very well familiar with that, but that did not apply.
Well, and
See,
I'm also looking at the fact that you highlighted that one paragraph, and you got on me in the earlier podcast that I was reading too much material.
Yeah.
And you just highlighted a whole bunch of
did.
material that was irrelevant. So basically, she wants to know about the power of sex and
Yeah.
our super series. Josh, why don't you just tell a little bit about the super series?
It's a super series that includes your games. It includes all kinds of fun stuff. The promotional
I'm
material,
just
the
going to guarantee
messages.
right now this isn't going to have more information in the website. Is that a downer?
It has MP3s.
Spoken
No,
is really.
but it's verbal.
Oh, you're
so,
going to
yeah.
guarantee that Josh is not going to give?
Yeah.
We're just answering questions, man. I'm just putting the ones now because last week I asked you if you could do the questions for me this week, so I'm just top to bottom, just going to your questions here.
What'd you have
Right?
for lunch?
I'm not going to agree to that one.
You won't?
Did she ask
No,
about
why?
downloads?
You told me to write the questions at the top. You didn't tell me to select which ones you were going to do.
The bottom line is it's a series that we did on sex in the high school ministry
Yep.
that went great.
Yep.
And pick it up. It's a great resource. Or in a few weeks or maybe a month, we'll release a new sex series as well called Best Sex Ever. So look for that one. And that wasn't that one of our highest attended series or weeks?
It always is.
It was
always
big
is.
time. So that's a new
But
one.
the Super
coming out
Series
soon.
has everything they need: PowerPoint, games,
Dramas,
dramas.
outlines, everything.
transcripts.
Hey, but here's the deal: we've got 19 episodes,
Yeah,
and I bet you we haven't talked about 3 products.
you're right.
I think that's probably true.
Yeah.
So
I
even
bet
as-
this is the third.
Okay,
Wait,
well
but was
let's just do a
sorry.
product spotlight right now.
Really quick.
That'd make Andy happy.
No, because that's
I-
Andy's out of the room, and the point
Yeah.
of the podcast, we told Andy we're not going to
Does
promote
she
product.
know, just because I kind of spaced out, does she know that she can download stuff instead of
Why
order?
did you space out? This
'Cause I
show's
just
only
do.
like 45
I
minutes.
Just do.
I mean,
I'm so creative.
We bored her
I just
to tears.
think outside of what's
Your
going
head.
on here. There's so much going on in here, really.
Focus, or we're going to make you walk the plank.
But does she know that she can download things? Which is therefore...
She probably does. I'm guessing, and you
But
don't have to pay for the
she's saying, how do
shipping.
I
So
get
then
it
it won't be
cheaper?
more
Because
money.
she's in Australia?
Let's just do this.
Sorry, just throwing it out there.
Let's just do a spotlight on the power of sex.
All right, there you go.
All right, there it was.
All right, here is the another question from Matt Sasso, Exit 83, Youth Ministry, no city, no state.
Outstanding.
And basically his question is, although he liked Metallica's intro that we're going to get sued for, is how do you
And Snoop
motivate volunteers to take ownership? How do you motivate volunteers to take ownership?
That's a good question.
It's an excellent question, and didn't we say a couple episodes ago that we're going to do one on just on volunteers?
Just volunteer show.
Yeah. We got to remember that. Would you write that?
Yeah, it's my list of the marathon guy.
And that you won't ever bring up a.
Can I have that?
No, it won't.
Here,
you don't
I'll
need to
write
write
it down.
it.
I know,
Right
but I want
here.
his pen.
Oh,
It's a nice
sorry.
pen.
How do you motivate
Yeah,
volunteers
so-
to take ownership? Well, first of all, they have to see that ownership of what you're asking them to do has some meaning and purpose. That it's people are not excited about things that have no meaning. So I can be a chaperone at an event. If I go to my kid's school and the principal says, "Will you stand by the water fountain to make sure no one drowns?" I think to myself, "Okay, I can do that for the 2 hours I'm chaperoning the event." But if I have to do that every single week, I'm not going to find much value in that. So I think the first principle is people have to see that there is something inherently valuable about what you are asking them to do. So you as the leader, before you can even empower your volunteers, I would put the question back to you to say, have you identified your jobs in such a way that they have meaning, where people feel like what valuable time they have is being spent on something that's significant?
I'd say the other two things that kind of maybe dovetail into that is as you determine your expectations for your volunteers and you're specific with it and it's more than just a chaperone type thing, is that there also has to be some aspects of that are open-ended, that you don't spell things out so much that they have no ability for creativity and no ability to think freely and to handle things on their own. Part of that is when they ask you questions, maybe you let them answer and do what they think is best. I mean, obviously you can't do that in every situation.
Okay, give an example of that. You confuse me.
Well, if a leader comes to you with how to respond to a problem that one of their students is facing, instead of instantly breaking out the 5 steps to counsel this student, maybe you let that leader come up with it on their own or whatnot. I think another thing too is to really tap into things that's that leader's passion. No one's going to own something if they're not passionate about it. And if you just have a bunch of pigeonholes in your ministry and they're boring things to do and they're the job description, so to speak, are so specific that there's no room for free thinking, then it's not going to really tap into people's passions.
Well, I think if you want people to own a task or a job or a ministry or whatever, I think you have to have a track record of really giving things away. You can't just give it away and then take it right back or see it kind of faltering a little bit and then you jump back in and rescue it because you're the savior of this youth ministry. I think you have to establish a track record of when I hand this to you, it's really yours. You have to own it because I'm not going to anymore. I'll counsel you, guide you, mentor you along the way, but this is your deal. And I think people will begin to see that you really honestly give stuff away.
Okay, you're the youth pastor. I'm the volunteer. You've just delegated something to me, but you see I'm dropping the ball on that.
So
and now
you're in charge of the program every week for the little bulletin.
or one
when
program.
students come in.
It's just you've delegated something to me. I'm a volunteer, but now I'm dropping the ball on
So
it. What
I
do
would
you do?
Come alongside them and say, hey, we'd love to see this improved, and here's some ideas. Just want to encourage you. Is there anything I can do to make your life easier? Is this a good fit for you? I just don't want to see this falter, and maybe even explain kind of where it's falling.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on what it is and how bad it is. I mean, if you have a leader up there that's explaining communion and you hear something from the 10th heresy, it's just the worst thing you've ever heard. Yeah, you got to jump up on stage and fill in the gaps or do something. I mean, you're ultimately accountable to those students, not making sure that leader feels good about themselves at the end of the night. And so you have to constantly weigh how important is this? Is it worth saying something before they make a mistake, while they're making a mistake, or after they make a mistake?
It's good.
And just because something is average or not quite as much of a time investment as you would have given it, doesn't mean that that's bad. I mean, they could do something very well, and that would be good enough. And we've talked about good enough before. If a volunteer is doing 100% of a task and it's a B, that's probably good enough because it's off your plate.
Yeah.
And if it was such a passion for you, maybe you shouldn't have given that away and give something else
Well, for
away.
somebody to feel empowered ultimately and to have some ownership, ultimately they have to understand why am I doing this? And so it's kind of what I was pushing you for in our little role play that Matt interrupted, was that the idea that, I want you to say to me, do you understand what, why we're doing, see if there's any passion in you may have delegated something to me that I have no passion for. Right. So that was Matt's point. They've got to have some passion, but a little end that I would throw onto your thing about passion is people also feel ownership of a ministry that the leader feels ownership of. I mean, passion is attractive, and I can be given a little job that might seem insignificant if I'm all of a sudden following people that they're doing jobs and they're so passionate about it that they get so excited about whatever that might be that I go, okay, I've got a role here, and I'm tracking with that passion.
Right, you're part of a greater goal, a greater ministry. Yeah, that's good.
Well, and the other one of the other ways that you got to be careful with people to get ownership. You can only own so many things. Absolutely. I can only spin so many plates. So one of the reasons this person may not have volunteers taking ownership, they may be too busy. And a lot of times when we bring volunteers in, we ask them to do everything. Teach Sunday school, go to Sunday night, Wednesday night Bible study, once a month potluck. Right. And they may just be too busy to really own anything and own it well.
Awesome.
We got anything else on that?
Good questions. Natalie?
Yeah, that is a good question. I feel like I'm being counseled right now.
Were you paying attention?
I was totally paying attention.
Right?
I thought that was very
You were helped
wise.
right there.
I was.
Oh, awesome. Good.
I was.
Were you rating it?
No, I wasn't rating
Just
it at
prayers.
all. Well, remember, we were in a small church where it was all volunteers, and how do you get people to get excited about doing the same thing every week, especially when it's not something that you're good at? Yeah. So that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Good. Hey, there is a person who wrote from Regina, Saskatchewan, Canada, Living Hope Alliance Church, Cam Liskey. Josh, I thought, people kind of see you as the funny guy, and they also, slam on you a little bit.
They do.
It's all in love, but this person wrote, I just wanted to say that I thought Josh was really on this past week. He doesn't usually get a lot of credit for his comedic genius, but I rather enjoyed him this past week. Genius. He made me giggle like a schoolgirl.
Ooh.
Awesome. Was this a guy or a girl? Because that's funny either way.
Send us a recording of that.
Cam. That was funny.
Cam?
Cam. C-A-M.
Is that a guy's name?
Still confusing.
Cam Liskey.
Short for Cameron.
Oh.
A.K.A.
My niece's
Cameron
name
Diaz.
is Cameron.
A.K.A. Commander. Would that be like
I would think dude.
World of Warcraft level 6?
I'm on server Zebulon.
I also appreciate that you decided to bring the camera back into the room since the previous episode you could make out the reflection of what Andy was doing. And then I thought this was interesting because we called our survivor buddy last week, Austin.
Yeah.
She said next time he or she, whoever, next time you you have a call in the show, you might want to be a little more careful about dialing because even though you didn't say the number, it would be very easy for a creep like me to watch. Okay, it's a guy.
Okay.
It's a guy. Don't you think? Creep like me? Would a woman say that?
No.
Okay.
He said he giggles like a
girl would say a
schoolgirl.
stalker.
And a creep
stalker
like me. Yeah.
Sounds
You're
like he is.
speaking for the
To watch
vocabulary of all
where
of
your
us.
fingers go and also listen to the tones. Maybe just block the shot where you dial and don't put the mic up till it's ringing. I'm not sure how many stalkers you have watching your podcast, but I just thought I would mention it.
Yeah. Cam, if that's your real name.
That actually kind of reminds me of like when we were in Germany, and I don't know if you ever watched it, Josh. You weren't there, but I was reading something like this, and we had a little microphone down there, and Matt asked me to move the paper because I was blocking the mic. And
that was when the airplanes are flying over too? Yeah. Well, that's good. No, I think I've seen Cam on MySpace too. So. Oh, it's just that's just a little stalker humor. Sorry, guys. Didn't know it was going to. I hope somebody laughed at that. If you laughed at that.
No one
Here's
laughed.
a question. When should a youth pastor begin writing his or her own small group curriculum?
Wow. Never.
Why is that, Natalie?
Buy our stuff.
That just sounds like a lot of work when there's great resources out there.
Well, why do you create graphics? Why don't you just rip stuff off all the time?
Oh,
that is a solid question.
A strong creative director.
But does it sound like he really wants to? If you want to, you just do it regardless.
Well, he wrote on here,
is
it just a matter of spiritual giftings and abilities where some people can do it and some just can't?
Well,
interesting. Don't you think some of the best material is going to be stuff that you create because you know your students?
Not if you're a horrible writer.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that either.
But don't you think at least, even if you take someone else's stuff, it's got to be edited for your audience? I mean, you know your audience.
Well, there's a difference between editing and writing, though.
Yeah.
I mean, really, there's very few things new under the sun. You know, I listened to a Rick Warren sermon, which I go, oh, that was great. And then I go into his library and borrow a book, and I go, oh, there's where he got a piece of that from, or a piece of that from. And I'm sure Cato and Swindoll and Andy Stanley and, whoever.
Right. Everybody borrows from everybody else. It's all, right.
Yeah, you're always looking for resources. Now, it might inspire something different, but I think when it comes to curriculum, so many people have written good stuff out there that instead, I would rather, if I have a leader, I'd rather them spend 1 hour editing somebody else's and spend 5 hours with students than to spend 6 hours writing their own curriculum.
And I guess that's my point. I was really more saying, don't just take it right out of the book and go with it. I think there's time that you need to learn it and internalize it and believe it and bleed it and illustrate it. Rather than...
I'm sorry.
Why is that funny?
That's really funny to me because Andy uses it all the time in regards to
That's kind of our language.
Appraisal speak.
Can't you say bleed?
Yeah,
I think you can say bleed.
You guys all use that word.
We bleed youth ministry.
It's so funny to me. I bleed.
Is it offensive in any way?
No, it's not offensive. Right. I just think it's funny.
No, she was mocking
I think
you.
it's
She
corny.
wasn't offended.
All right.
No, not offended.
Back to the
to the deep moment.
Okay,
Sorry.
so anyhow, so I think that's my point. Is don't just take it right out of the can and use it. Make sure that you tailor it and tweak it and adapt it, and you know your students and their needs.
We hope.
Yeah,
I sure hope so.
Well, the reality is there's so much great stuff out there, and this is not a.
I'll give you.
I mean, we've got hundreds of weeks of curriculum. But there's thousands of weeks of curriculum that's out there. And, Matt, there's also some bad stuff, too. I mean, you and I have seen some stuff where, I mean, that was part of the reason at one point we're going, we were doing some denominational curriculum at one point where we went, oh, my gosh, there's, references in here to Eisenhower. And,
love those.
I still don't know who he is.
Illustrations from the War of 1812. And,
things like that. And all the public domain illustrations where at some point you're going, okay, somebody's being paid just to crank this out who hasn't worked with kids since the Eisenhower administration. So at some point,
he was the president.
Yes. So let's do this. Let's think of some criteria. Let's think of some ways to judge what might be good and what might not be bad.
All right. Why don't you do that and put it on the website?
Great.
Here's the deal. If
you think that's going to happen?
It's good.
There you go. That's my rule.
All right.
If it sucks, it's crap.
And look, he just empowered you.
Well, thank you. I feel like I could really own this, Matt. I'm going to bleed it now, Natalie.
You were bleeding it before.
Speaking of links, Chris Hood from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Baton Rouge, Riverdale Baptist Church. When I listened to podcast 18, the subjects of links came up. Just to encourage you, the first thing I do is check the links as I'm downloading the podcast.
Wow.
Then I listen or watch to have to go back to the links to check them out again.
Awesome.
You do an awesome job.
Yes.
And that's all Josh, because Josh does all the links.
That's cool.
And I would assume they don't make sense beforehand.
You're right. You almost have to listen to the show to get them. There were some.
You know what I think I would like for some links? I would like to see some more real photo links.
Yeah.
Because I know you have some great comic ones up there, but like when you took a picture of Matt digging in for the key, that was funny. That was like my favorite link.
Well, we could do some today. I think of some of the other stuff.
Okay, well, get your camera out. Let's go. We can go down to the warehouse and see what the cam is doing.
The cam totally sucks. It's on the trash can.
What?
It's on the trash can. Right now? Oh, I'm looking at it. There's no movement whatsoever.
Can you?
No, you can't.
Well, it doesn't move.
Yeah, because Pepe's probably dodging it. He's probably not doing this.
He moved it earlier because he has a little bit of a cold, and so he didn't want the camera on him directly.
Oh.
He's a little camera shy.
Because the camera would make it worse?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And I have pink eye, just so you know.
All right.
What are we gonna
How's your nose doing, by the way?
My nose is fine.
It looks great. Will you turn towards me? Yeah.
I think it looks remarkable.
Looks
6 stitches. I think one popped. So there's a little bit of a crater going on there.
It's not bad. It's better.
Stitch pop.
Like last week, I didn't want to say anything. Pretty rough.
You did.
But didn't I wear a name tag?
Oh, well, I guess
name tag. Didn't I wear a name tag last week? I just wore a name
you
tag
did
over my
last
entire
week.
face.
2 weeks ago.
No,
Hi,
you
my
said
name
you
is
wanted
Doug.
to stuff one of the goats in there.
It's
Yeah, you did make fun of it.
okay. Good, because
Yeah, it's been I mean, the thing
It's
about
good,
a
it's getting
Band-Aid on your nose,
Yeah.
come on. You can't,
Yeah,
you
can't
can't
do it.
hide that one.
yeah.
Unless you're wearing a mask.
Yeah, speaking of masks, Matt, here's some of your, I just have on here to give to you, but these are world, I have a level 40 dwarf hunter named Pugnacious to play on Staghelm and would love to meet up with you and play sometime. That would be really chum.
Oh,
you,
that
you know what
sounds
all
so
that means,
bizarre.
don't you?
Dwarf hunter and stagnacious.
Yeah.
I love it. What's the other one say?
Do you know what
The other
means?
one's a
Is
World
that
of
a
Warcraft
language?
character dancing to the Numa Numa song.
Oh, I'll link
on the
that one.
website. Yeah, you can link to that
World
one.
of
That
Warcraft.
is-
There you go. You
All
can
right, it'll be
answer
on our links.
one of
What a
your computer
weird
nerdy
world.
buddies.
My blog has the server that I'm
Your
on.
blog. Let's talk about your blog for a second. On your email, I've noticed on your email now it has a signature.
Yes.
So it says Matt McGill.
And it has my email, my blog, and my cell phone number.
Oh my god.
No, but depending on who I send it to, I just delete stuff out. So
Okay,
like if
please. Like if you send something on my behalf, would you delete out the blog?
I delete the blog and my cell phone number.
Okay.
Because I want people to call my cell. Yeah.
I wouldn't even put it in there.
No, I saw that. I saw Matt's blog, and I thought, Matt responds to all kinds of people for me many times, and I just thought, just
yeah,
what
I
I
take
want
all
them to
that.
do is like click on a blog and read about Matt
Well-
talking about his last
Well-
bowel movement.
He's had some great small groups, though. I've read your blog. It's quite interesting. We'll link to it this week, obviously. One of my favorite ones was,
Where do you get the time to read everybody's blog?
That baffles my mind.
Guys-
He has so much time in a day to do
when you
amazing
only
things.
sleep 5 hours a day?
Yeah. I'm not implying that you
That's why
don't
I
work.
think
I'm
I-
not playing that joke. Really, you can do so much in a day.
Thank you.
You think it's a joke?
No. We've
I'm not
joked
working.
about it before, and I'm not joking. He does so much in a day.
here's
It's
the deal.
shocking.
Pound that. Thank you.
Yeah.
That was nice. Here's the deal.
You're a
Matt,
hard worker.
Matt, Matt, put
For a pirate
and
lover.
this is that's true. Matt has in his blog, he has a story about his small group where he put Tabasco in his eye. It was one of the funniest stories I've ever read in my whole life.
Matt is a great storyteller.
He put it's hilarious. I mean, the only thing I wish we had the video. He talks about there was a video, like a phone.
There is a video.
Oh, really?
We have a video of Matt putting Tabasco
Oh,
in
I
his
got
eye.
the video on my
Why
computer.
on
Let's
earth
put it-
would
let's
you
put it
ever
on the
put
link.
Tabasco in
Okay.
your eye?
It is the funniest
gotta
thing.
read
You
the
guys,
blog.
let's end with this. I gotta
Okay.
go. I gotta go
All
get
right.
Cody.
Oh,
It's like
okay, cool.
4 paragraphs.
So you got to read the
so
blog. Can we
funny.
link to the blog
link to
and
the
link
blog.
to the Tabasco in the eye with his small group? So he's with his small group guys, which are a bunch of juniors and seniors, and they were talking about Tabasco. Matt said, "Oh, that wouldn't hurt my eye," and then he puts it on his finger like you're putting a contact in, and then put it right on your eye.
How'd that feel?
Exactly.
Is that the essence of it?
Sure, but if I mean, there's lots of good reasons why I did it.
And you have to read the blog to find out
Yeah,
what
and,
those are.
and if you look at the reasons why I did it, it would be very hard to refute why I would not do that. The title of the blog is "Why I Put Tabasco in My Eye," and I believe there's some good, legitimate reasons.
Okay.
And I'm up
Did
for some
you read
arguments.
And I
Like
gotta believe that in the
purified,
entire
or-
world, there's not another blog like that.
No, you've got to read mattmcgill.blogspot.com.
MattMcGill.blogspot.com.
Here, I'll send you an email. It's in my
MCG.
Sig.
It's funny.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Any shout outs? Keep writing your questions into podcast at simpleyouthministry.com. We read
Shout
everyone.
outs.
At least Josh does
I do.
and sends them to me, and then Matt labels them.
Do we
and
have a shout out?
We barely
Yeah.
read them.
Yeah.
But send them in. Here we go.
Kat and Paul from Cedarville Alliance Church in Ottawa. Congratulations! They just got engaged.
Oh, very
And-
nice.
That's great.
Yeah, Kat is the youth pastor there.
Kat?
Yeah,
K-A-T?
K-A-T.
And what was the other person's name?
Paul.
Oh.
They,
Kat.
they just got engaged last week, and they wanted to
That's got your
have
Paul?
us say congratulations so that they could play it for their students.
Oh,
Isn't that
That
fun?
is great.
Congratulations.
That
That's
is-
the best we could come up with.
Yeah. Sorry.
I thought I saw a couple other emails for shout
I
outs.
sent them on.
Did
I
you?
don't know.
Really?
I delete them because I figure she gets
Yeah,
them.
me too.
I
Oh,
didn't get any other emails for shout-outs. This was the only one.
Ooh, I think there's
That's
a
a
bet.
challenge.
There's a
Okay,
bet.
let's do
Okay,
this.
let me be Josh for a second. I'm in.
I don't think I've gotten
I
any
win
others.
either way.
Outback?
Was that?
All right, so let's do this.
Was that Josh?
There's a new
Perfect Josh.
Fuddruckers. New
Okay.
Fuddruckers right up the road.
Yep.
Okay, this is no longer interesting.
We hope you enjoyed the show. This podcast is served up hot and fresh from the offices of Simple Youth Ministry. We're here to simplify your ministry and save you time. Check out simpleyouthministry.com for time-saving resources that have been created in the trenches at Saddleback Church. You can also get free stuff, and who doesn't want that? We'll see you next week.